Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our How to Efficiently webinar series. Today, we will be talking about step-down cost allocation. I'm Daniel Potocznik, partner and CFO at CRMT, and together with me is Stefano Soma, Senior Technology Sales Support Specialist from Wolters Kluwer. Today is a special date. It's 22nd February of 2022. You can read it from left to right or from right to left, and you get the same date. If you have any questions, please write them down in the Q&A session below, and we will try to answer them after the presentation. The purpose of this webinar series is to make your planning, budgeting, and forecasting processes as much efficient as possible. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy while we take you on the cost allocation journey. Some basics. Cost allocation is a process of identifying, accumulating, and assigning costs to a specific cost object. We use cost allocation, for example, to value our inventory for some external reporting purposes, or to monitor and plan costs of activities and processes, or for various short or long-term strategic decisions. For example, make or buy decision, how to properly price your products and services, when to add or discontinue certain products and services, etc. With cost allocation, we come across different subjects. So first is so-called cost object. A cost object can be a product, a department, a customer, a project. So with cost object, we allocate costs from one cost center, in this example administration, where only costs occur, to a profit center, in this example sales, where costs and revenue occur. So the exercise is to move costs from one department to another department to achieve the goals that we will follow, that we will see later on. We are also talking about associated costs. So these are the costs that we are moving around. So for example, expenses accounts. This is usually the case where we get those expenses. In this example, or as an example, all overhead expenses. And of course, we need to decide about the allocation method we are using. So we have option of using 3 different allocation methods. So which are the cost allocation methods? The first one is so-called direct method. This is the simplest one. In this picture, on the right-hand side, we have on the left-hand side of the picture, we have so-called support departments, or departments where only costs occur. We have information systems and we have accounting. And with the direct method, we are allocating costs from these support departments to a production department, also so-called profit centers. In this example, manufacturing and packaging. The next method is so-called step-down or waterfall method. This one is the most commonly used, and this one is also be the one which we will show you during the demo. With this method, we are considering the relationship between the cost centers on the left-hand side. So in this example, in the first step, we are allocating costs from information systems, marked in green, to the accounting department and also to the profit center. In the second step of this exercise, we are allocating costs from the accounting department to the profit centers, manufacturing and packaging. And the third method is reciprocal method. So this one is most complex and usually most fair method. With this one, we are also considering the relationship between the cost centers, in this example, the information systems and the accounting. So in first step, we are allocating costs between those two cost centers. And in the second step, we're allocating costs to profit centers or to production departments in this example. Let's set some baseline for our demonstration that we will show you later on. In the first step, we will be allocating the expenses of our shared services to all cost centers. So for that, we will be using a couple of drivers. So we will gather information about square footage and the number of contracts. And we will gather this information break by cost center, by individual cost center. Here in this example, we can see we have cost centers: accounting, finance, investor relations, marketing, and sales. And also we will be gathering the drivers or the keys by period. In this example, January, February, March, and so on. The costs that we will be allocating are the following. We will be allocating rent. So for rent, we will use square footage as a driver. We will be allocating legal services. For that, we will use number of contracts. And we will be allocating utilities costs. And for that, we will be using number of FTEs. The chosen method is a step down, waterfall, and we will be allocating costs in 3 steps. In the second step of our scenario, of our demonstration, we will be allocating expenses to customers and products. So totally different dimensions, I would say. Here, we will use revenue for driver, revenue by customer, and by product. And we will be splitting the costs according to this driver. Costs associated are all costs. And the method used will be a direct, really simple one. We will be using it in 2 steps. So the first step by customer and the second step by product. So with that, I give the word to Stefano. Stefano, please take over and show us how this is done.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Let's go into our platform and let's start to taking a look into the reporting where we can collect the information related to our drivers. Let's start the reporting. Then in this kind of the report, we can collect different drivers that it could be useful for our allocation purpose. As you can see here, we can collect in this example square footage and number of contract, and of course we can add different statistical driver. But in the matrix below, we can also use some other kind of drivers. In this case, are related to our profit and loss that we have already collected in the step before into our processes. After that, we have collected this information. We can run our allocation purpose and analyze the results that we will achieve with the step. Okay, so let's run the reporting and let's take a look into the 2 methods that we would like to show you into this meeting, into this webinar. Into the first step, we are using a waterfall approach and we want to allocate different kind of expenses related to our rent, legal services, and utilities, and we are using different kind of drivers. So let's take a look into the first matrix where we are allocating our rent allocation. As you can see here, we have an amount that is related to our shared service cost center, and we have all the amount that are related to our rent for each other cost center that we have. In the second column, we can see the square footage related to each cost center and the percentage that is related to the square footage for each single cost center. Into the fourth column, we can see the results of our allocation with the chargeback related to our shared services and the allocation that we are running related accordingly to the drivers that we are using now. And the last column is the final results So the sum amount, the amount related to the starting amount for each cost center and the results of our allocation. As well, we are running the same for the legal expenses allocation and the utility expenses allocation using the waterfall approach. Into the second step of our allocation, we are running a direct allocation. So now we are allocating our expense allocation to customer and product. And as you can see here, with the same structure, we are allocating our generic product to each family of product that we have in our process. And as well, we are doing the same for the customer purpose. After that, we run our allocation. We can also use this information to run some profitability analysis related to our product and family of product that we have in our organization. So as you can see here, we have different kind of column but related to our retail customer. In this case, in this example is Walmart. We can see what are our sales revenue and COGS, the gross margin that is related, and the allocated expenses that have an impact into our operating margin. This is an important analysis that is really useful to understand how is going your business. Now, let me go back into the presentation. Okay.
Thank you very much, Stefano.
I think that we start from that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So, the bottom line of the cost allocation is that it is used primarily for calculating the profitability on our cost object level. We can have it like on a product, department, customer level. With the profitability, we identify so-called profit eaters, and then either we turn them into money-making machines or we simply get rid of them. Or in some cases, we also use cost allocation to calculate transfer prices between subsidiaries. This is used for the tax optimization. Or, as we mentioned already, we use the cost allocation to make some decisions. For example, either we are going to do some outsourcing based on the numbers that we are getting as a result from the cost allocation. Things to consider when, just a second, Things to consider. When selecting the allocation method, you should consider the cause and effect relationship. The thumb rule here is do not overcomplicate things. The allocation method should be fair and equitable, or at least should follow the ability to bear the cost logic. So how much cost can we allocate to a certain department that we are not overkilling them? Cost allocation often leads to a power game between departments. Avoid this if possible. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. If you would like to see any of our previous webinars, I invite you to visit our webpage, the landing page of the webinar, and in the lower section of the page, you will see the links to the recordings. With that, I invite you to also join our next week's seminar or webinar, where we will show you the financial reporting in multi-GAAP environments. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the afternoon.